Welcome to MotoMouths, the podcast for MotoGP, motorsports, and more. I'm your host, Zoe, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. It's our 22nd episode.
I saw that and I was like, that's fun. I like that you made a Taylor Swift joke about it. Also, hi, I'm Zoe, the other host.
How can you say anything about the number 22 and not make a Taylor Swift joke?
It is the Taylor Swift year. In addition, I would like to say that 26, for our one follower on Instagram who likes MotoGP, F1, and Supernatural, 26 is the Dean Winchester year. That Dean Winchester said, I'm 26, dude.
That's my favorite comment we've ever received, is somebody who said, finally, the MotoGP F1 Supernatural algorithm is paid off.
And like, you know what? There's a non-zero chance that that is my burner account. It's not. But there's a non-zero chance.
You made it once while drunk. It's your Jekyll and Hyde.
Anonymous user, whoever you are, just know that I think of you often, kindly.
You know who was in Mugello this weekend at the race?
Oh my goodness, so many people.
Mac Webber.
Mac Webber?
Mac Webber was at the race. Oh, Jesus.
Mac Webber was at the race?
Mac Webber was at the race?
You know who else was there?
Who?
Valentino Rossi.
Valentino Rossi was there with a fucked up eye.
Yeah. I screamed.
It was really gross.
He was wearing sunglasses the whole weekend.
And he should have kept them
Every
on.
other time they showed him on screen. So I saw him like Friday on the coverage. And then on Saturday I screamed. So I was like, who is that? And it's him.
Looks so weird. It looks scary. You know what he looked like? That meme of the guy that's like at his desk at school and he's straining every muscle and his eyes are like bulging out. It's all red veins.
The internet ran with it and discovered that that is most likely how he like popped a blood vessel. Something along the lines there. Anyways, shall we get into what happened at Mugello?
I would love to.
Should we talk about our predictions and then go from there?
I would love to. So for predictions, you said Mark P1, good job. Pecco P2, Frankie P3, Fail King Fabio Quartararo. And I said Mark P1, good job. Pecco P2, no. Alex P3, close. Fail King Frankie.
Kind of, yeah. I think if we're going for head just this weekend, you nailed it.
Woo!
I mean, neither of us nailed it, but you nailed it more. I do want to say, I was listening back to our episode from last week the other day, and I do want to say I was right.
You were right about literally everything.
Thank you. What I'm most excited to be right about is Marc Marquez dominating in a different way than he did at Aragon, but dominating at Mugello, which is like crazy and is not at all what anyone was expecting, except they kind of were, except they weren't.
It was a very poetic weekend.
So poetic. Shall I share some statistics?
Please.
So this weekend, Mark secured his 100th pole in his career. So his 100th career pole this weekend at Mugello. He is the only person in MotoGP history to have ever reached 100 career poles. Even if we look at MotoGP poles, just premier class, he is still the leading rider. And he is by no means ready to retire. So there is a small chance he could reach 100 in the premier class. Cannot convey to you that no one's ever done this. And it is very likely no one will do it again. This is also the weekend that Mark secured his 93rd race win.
A number famously he enjoys.
He does enjoy that number. I believe this was his first race win career ever was
Correct.
at Mugello years ago.
In 2013.
And then this is also, not to like drudge up 10-year-old beef, but this is the home and place of Valentino Rossi. Like if we're going to call Mugello the cathedral of anything, it's the cathedral of Valentino Rossi's legacy. And for all of that to happen this weekend, for Mark to break as many records as he did and perform as well as he did at this track, which is not by any means a track that he is strong at, is batshit.
As we're approaching the 10th anniversary of the aforementioned incident.
Yes. We'll get to that when it happens.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes.
It sure does. It sure does. All of that to say, no one was really expecting Mark to be as strong this weekend as he ended up being.
Well, except you.
Except me, because I was right. And I think does speak to the fact that he is riding this bike at tracks where he has not historically been very strong. And this bike is working at the tracks that he has not historically been strong. Because if we look back at the foundational elements of the Ducati Desmosedici, it was built and developed from the ground up to beat Marc Marquez, to take advantage of his weaknesses, in particular, the tracks he wasn't strong at. It's a very cool story that is happening within a season of, I think, a lot of cool stories.
I agree. It was a truly dominant weekend.
But in a very different way from Aragon.
No, 100%.
Which is so cool that they were back to back.
It's scary how he can dominate in so many different ways at so many different tracks. He's inevitable.
He is. I had this on our notes, and I think this is a good time to bring it up. P2 in the championship is his little brother, Alex Marquez. A lot has come to the surface this weekend about Alex Marquez that really sticks in my craw, if I'm going to be honest.
Be more Southern about it.
Okay. We're both from the South. You can't be mean to me about it.
I can sure try.
Anyways, the thing that sticks in my craw.
The gnat in my sour cream.
The thing that really irritates me that happened this weekend is at the Sunday press conference after the GP, a reporter asked Alex Marquez, so do you race Mark less because you guys are brothers? Which is so tired. It is so unbelievably tired.
First of all, as somebody who has not one, not two, not three, but 4 siblings, there is nothing more competitive than the relationship between siblings.
It's what we call the Cain and Abel instinct.
It is the most competitive relationship you will ever have. If I was in a sport with my brother, I'd want to beat the shit out of him every single day. I'm not in a sport with my brother, and I still want to beat the shit out of him every single day.
My brother is 18 years older than me, and so much about our lives is different.
Yeah.
And yet, there's something in me that is incredibly competitive.
100%.
Because that's just how it works. Here's the other thing. I think this is incredibly tired because tell me you're an only child without telling me you're an only child.
Literally tell me you're an only child without telling me you're an only child. That question will only ever be asked by only children.
I think that is incredibly clear. 2, would you rather that they race each other, balls to the wall, and kill each other? Because that is what they are currently capable of doing. Would you rather that happen?
Or like, what is the response that you get to that? They say yes? Like, it's
and
not
then
gonna...
you eat them a lot? Like,
it's not gonna happen in the first place. It's a line of questioning that goes nowhere. Bad journalism.
Honestly, yes. Bad journalism. And it has come up so many times that I am shocked. I am shocked Alex didn't get pissed more in the press conference because I think he's fully within his rights to be pissed. He is second in the championship. He is the most consistent rider this year by a long shot. He is having one of the best seasons of his life. You're not clocking that he is standing on business.
Literally, he's standing on business. And the thing that's pissing me off about it is that
they're not clocking it.
They're not clocking it. And if he wasn't racing Mark hard, this season would have looked a lot different.
Like, what do you want? Why are you acting like a toddler?
As a journalist in a past life, it is a question that is designed to have no answer. You're never going to get an answer to it. So you're really just wasting people's time by asking it. It's annoying. Stop it.
So Alex's answer was, I race people and try to overtake people who I know that I'm faster compared to. When Mark is doing his thing, I know I have nowhere to beat him. I know that I can't make up that difference. People are picking this apart, because of course they are. Alex has made a name for himself, partly, I think, encouraged by his association with Mark because they are brothers. A lot of people think of Alex as a very aggressive rider, sometimes a controversial decision maker on track. I don't really think he's that bad compared to his literal brother and also Frankie Morbidelli. They're worse people. So do I think that point is entirely true? No. Do I think it's true when it comes to Mark? Yes. Because we've seen time and time again, Mark can push bikes so much further past where their ceiling is that even Alex right now, who's seemingly pushing the GP24 a little bit past its ceiling, cannot make up that difference.
Also, did they watch the race?
The first 6 laps of the Sunday GP of Mugello, I think, are some of the best racing I've ever watched.
It was stunning racing.
It was messy. It was very smart. It was very slippy, slidey, dangerous. It was incredibly crazy just to like see the three of them. Because everybody should go back and rewatch it. They all take very different lines throughout the entirety of Mugello. And it's so interesting to watch.
Alex is battling and Alex is at points coming out ahead. Like, it's not like he's just twiddling his thumbs. In the first few laps, he is racing the shit out of Mark.
Yes, exactly. Genuinely, the disrespect that Alex gets, were he unrelated to Mark, he would not get any of this.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. Pecco, and I thought this was very interesting, and he very clearly illustrates the double standard happening here. Pecco was also asked about, do you think Alex races against Mark differently than he races everybody else? And Pecco goes, yeah, I do think that. I do the same thing against the VR46 Academy guys. That's normal.
Yeah.
They're brothers. And when that is brought up, no one seems to have an issue.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, there are 5 VR46 Academy guys on the grid right now. 3 of them are on some of the best bikes, and the other 2 are on factory deals. I'm far more concerned about that than I am about this guy and his little brother. Also, this guy and his little brother are kicking everyone else's ass. Like, get over it. What are you talking about?
But don't you know the Spanish are conniving and always work together and are undermining everyone?
Valentino, what are you doing here? I didn't know we had you as a guest.
What a get!
Crazy, 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 crazy. I think that's all I really want to talk about with Alex. Mr. P2, back at it again.
I mean, the other thing is that this is kind of after the race, but he was getting booed.
Oh my goodness, yes. So,
and it's like, back off!
We talked last week, but for the last 9 years, whenever Mark goes to Mugello, he needs security. This is the first year since 2015 he has come to Mugello without private security.
What's so crazy to me is I said, Italian fans forget all grudges the minute you join the red team. And then Davide literally was like, why are you booing him? He's wearing red. Like, he's in the red team. Like, it's a known thing.
Yeah. He's us.
He's us. And then, like, they were just booing Alex for no reason. It made me mad.
I will say, by all accounts, this year was a lot better than it has ever been. Ever. When you watch the sprint part for my little interviews, once they finish the sprint, you can hear it a lot more with Mark, and you can kind of hear it with Alex where they're like booing and whistling. Apparently it was so loud that the actual like TV coverage, like MotoGP, artificially like turned it down, like in the actual recording of the live coverage. So yeah, it's still bad. And Davide was like, fuck you guys.
He's on the red team. He's wearing red.
One other thing that happened this weekend that I think also kind of shows how separate Mark is from a lot of his peers currently on the grid is what happened at the beginning of the sprint. There are a lot of conflicting pieces of information about this, so I could very well be proven wrong. What happened is Mark did the final warm-up lap, came onto the grid. He didn't really know it at the time, didn't catch it, and he turned on the whole shot device, thought he had turned it off, so then he tried to turn it back on, which turned it off, and then realized it was turned off about 3 seconds before lights out for the sprint. Had to hold one hand on the clutch and reach over his body to turn the whole shot device back on, and then start the race. This all happened in maybe 2 seconds. He then, by turn 1, which is very, very quick from Mugello, when you go from the grid to turn 1, it's a very short turn, which is why he needed that. The decision making he's doing is immense in those 2 seconds. By turn 1, he is in P8, maybe P9. By turn 4, he's in P3. By lap 4, he is in P1. And he continues to hold it for the rest of the sprint. Alien.
It's bonkers.
Alien. I don't think there's a decision I've ever made in 2 seconds, let alone executed anything.
Who are you, Sully?
No, literally.
To me, it's crazy what humans are capable of.
Right. It's just nuts. And like we've said it before, we'll say it again. I'm going to say it forever. The Marc Marquez watching experience is so crazy because you see that happen and you're like, yeah, and he's still going to win the sprint. And then 11 laps later, he does. What else do we need to touch on? We unfortunately need to talk about Pecco Bagnaia.
I guess.
This is something I was wrong about. I'll cop to it.
His BBL deflated.
I really believed in his big brake disc.
That's not what BBL stands for.
I know, but like
his Brazilian brake disc.
Yeah, there we go. Except
it comes from Frankie.
Frankie gave him that one. Frankie said, hey, I know a guy.
Who do you think donated the heart?
Where's Frankie? In the gravel with Maverick Vinales. Where he should be. Okay, here's the thing though. Pecco couldn't use his new beloved Brazilian big brake disc because it was way too hot in Mugello.
And you know what? For the first time, I can relate because it's too fucking hot.
It's so hot. I'm so toasty.
It's too hot.
I can't do it. I really can't do it.
Anyways.
So he couldn't use his new brake disc. So, like, I know that I'm grasping at straws, but there is a chance.
Wait. Sorry. You know how Google gives you recommended articles when you open up Chrome on your phone? I literally opened it up, and the first headline article is Francisco Bagnaia admits it's impossible to think about winning MotoGP title after Italian GP. Just now
Google
you're
knows.
thinking that? You're just
Google
thinking
knows.
that now?
Well, I think Mark's got like 90-something points on him now. No, he's got exactly 90 points on Pecco right now. And there's something like 480 points left in this season. So it's not technically mathematically impossible, but it's not I don't see it happening. It's so hot that I don't even want to eat anything because I have to make it with heat. I don't know. Is that a trigger warning for EDs?
No, it's too hot.
Anyways, where were we?
I have no idea.
Were you talking about Pecco?
It's too hot.
Where were we about Pecco, though?
Oh, he flopped because it was too hot to use the big, beautiful brake disc. The big, beautiful,
Triggered.
It's a
Triggered.
beautiful brake
Triggered.
Beautiful brake disc.
Triggered.
We need to stop recording these on Mondays.
No, but when we do Monday, this is when all the news drops.
That's so true.
So here's the thing. He wasn't able to use the discs in Mugello. So I understand that I'm grasping at straws and nothing. This is probably very unlikely. But they're going to the Netherlands next.
Uh-huh.
Netherlands are definitely colder than Italy. So who knows?
For now.
Okay, depressing. And Assen, which is the track in the Netherlands, Pecco likes Assen. So I don't know. Things could happen. Maybe, probably not.
I don't know. Things could happen.
They probably won't. It's rough. I think, like, if you saw Pecco going back to the box on Sunday after the race, it was, I think, genuinely very sad. The issue is that the first 6 laps were really strong. Very good racing. It was classic Pecco Bagnaia. You haven't seen him like this since you've been watching. And I say this as not even the biggest Pecco enjoyer. He is an incredible racer. He is a 2-time world champion, and not for nothing, but he's a really good racer. And you haven't seen any of that from him, and it's been sad. I think about all the time. You've never seen Jorge Martin race.
I've never seen Jorge Martin race.
You've never really seen Marco Bezzecchi be good.
No,
you're missing so much because they all suck right now. Makes me sad. So Pecco has those incredible 6 laps where Alex, and Mark are going head to fucking head about it. He ends up, in my estimation, I think, chewing the tires up a little bit. This is then made worse by the fact because he doesn't use the bigger brake disc, he still is having the issue of not feeling anything from the front, having no feedback on the quality of the tires. He's losing grip like crazy. Therefore, he's losing confidence the entire time. Therefore, he's losing pace, which means Fabio Di Giannantonio could come up and snipe him and drop 2 seconds on him on the last lap to secure third. It was sad. It's a bummer.
Pecco, can I introduce you to my good friend, Grippy Socks?
Let's hold off on the Grippy Sock vacation just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. But we'll see. Maybe I'm being delusional, but I'm maybe Assen is going to be better. And then this is all where we get that one headline that you brought up of,
well, I guess there's no championship.
Not for Pecco.
It's all downhill from here, but it's not going downhill because that would make me go faster.
Jeez. A couple of other things I want to mention about this weekend. Marco Bezzecchi had a solid weekend.
He did, P5.
And no one's talking about it.
We're talking about it right now.
We are. Correct.
We're the only people you should listen to.
Yeah. But I thought it was really interesting because Bez has been getting shit on this whole season for not living up to the potential of that bike, mostly because he can't fucking qualify, which is, I'm not even disagreeing with. But then when he actually has a really solid weekend, ends on Sunday in the top 5. And I think about,
Crickets.
right, like what's going on? What's the truth? What's the truth?
So what's the truth?
I do also want to talk about Frankie Morbidelli.
Flop King?
Yes and no. Because he finished the race and finished P6. He finished the race just fine. He just was being a major asshole and an idiot.
Work found a kitchen?
Yeah, literally. Frankie, listen, I stand with him. I'm a Frankie girl at heart. So he basically barges into Maverick Vinales, who is the only KTM that's having a good Sunday. Maverick crashes out. Then does a very goofy / ominous, like looks into his visor, points at Frankie.
This whole sport is goofy / ominous.
It's incredible. I love it. So crashes Maverick out, proceeds to act as if he did nothing wrong, as he should. Then when he gets a long lap penalty for inciting a crash, he fucks up the long lap penalty and then has to serve another one because the penalty for not effectively serving a long lap is serving a long lap.
A long lap.
Furman Aldeguer also had a rough weekend. And then last but not least, I do want to touch on Pedro Acosta. Pedro Acosta has been running his mouth in a way that I'm genuinely shocked by. Pedro Acosta is publicly saying, I want to be on a Ducati. This bike is horrible. I don't want to be here anymore. And it's really interesting because on the one hand, you have the idea of like, okay, you're young, you're in your prime. You want to secure like the best seat you can. We talk about all this when we talk about Jorge Martin. It's a similar situation, but you've not put the work in. You've not put the time in. You're not putting your head down and just trying to make it work and trying to figure it out. There's a level of entitlement there that I find really unattractive in a person, let alone in like a business partner, which is essentially what these athletes are to their teams.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Move in silence.
As we have always said, move in silence.
All right. We need to talk about Liberty, and then we still need to make our predictions for Assen.
This will be a no F1 episode. Sorry, guys.
We have to make predictions for Austria, too.
We're going to have to be really quick with that. Anyways, biggest news from today,
Yes.
Monday, is Liberty Media has now officially been approved by the EU, like Monopolies Committee, to move forward with their purchase of 84% of the MotoGP governing body. This is a big deal. It has been in the works for over a year now. I think it started last April. And I think a lot of people have gotten a lot of mixed opinions about it. Zoe, if you want to add your mixed opinions.
I mean, I think it depends what you want out of MotoGP. Do you want this sport to stay the same? Then this is a bad deal. However, if you accept that nothing can ever stay the same,
Okay.
and that this will be a massive, massive boon to the sport's growth and longevity, then it is a great deal.
I agree. If you're coming from F1 and watching this happen, I think there is a legitimate concern that a lot of the kind of like overbearingness of F1 might be translated into MotoGP. In all honesty, I don't really see that happening because we don't have MBS.
We don't know how much of it is Liberty and we don't know how much of it is MBS. And to be honest, also, F1 has also always been a very uptight sport.
Right. Buttoned up because it has lines all the way back to quote unquote elite society, which as we all know is not a nice thing.
And to be fair, what Liberty has actually done in F1 is lower it, like make it lower class and broadened it and more accessible. I think you'll get less of like the, DTS fan kind of stigma when Liberty takes over, because I think that they're not having to degrade the sport at all in the mind of its current fans.
Yeah, I see that.
It's already a little bit more accessible to the general public in terms of its core fan base and history.
Like there is in F1.
Exactly.
Like we talk a lot about in F1 how no one comes from working class backgrounds anymore. And that is not true at all in MotoGP.
Yeah.
It is so very much like quote unquote an everyman sport. What I think is also really interesting about the Liberty aspect is just from like me looking into it, a lot of the stuff I've had frustrations with F1 about over the last couple of years have come from MBS's overreach. It seems like the way this deal is structured and the way Liberty has kind of operated in the past, F1, including other things as well, Liberty is far more concerned from like a media marketing optics perspective.
The thing is that at its core, what Liberty Media, it's a media company. What Liberty Media owns in F1 is its media rights. It does not have the ability to shape the rules. It does not have the ability to do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't have the ability to pick the tracks. It can sway. It can say, this would be very good television. This would help us get more sponsors. We could do this and this and this. But at the end of the day, this is a deal about media rights. And if you can
That is a
get
great point.
MotoGP on TV in America, Americans will fall in love with it.
We were listening to, I think, the Paddock Pass podcast, which I'm sure if you guys know anything about MotoGP, know that podcast. I was listening to them the other week and I told Zoe to listen to it too, because they had a really interesting conversation about like what Americans might be drawn to about MotoGP once Liberty gets involved in a real way. And not to like brag, but it's what we've been saying the whole time, which is the reason F1 got as famous as it did and blew up like it did is because of characters, is because of these people and their stories. And that's how MotoGP needs to do it. And that's, I think, the learning Liberty is bringing. Because I think a lot of people in MotoGP have this weird idea that Americans will only watch international sports if there's an American in it.
Which is so not true.
Very untrue. And I would argue that if you have a mid-American and an international sport, Americans are even less likely to be interested.
We don't like being
winning.
told who to root for.
We like winning. That's what Americans like. You don't need an American just there. That's what I'm really excited about Liberty for, is the storytelling opportunities. And MotoGP has a season docuseries that comes out every year. So they have this kind of thinking already happening. I think Liberty is just going to take it and make it better.
It's investing and scaling. And you know what? They're not the only sport doing it. IndyCar is doing it. Like it's,
oh my God,
it's
tennis on Netflix.
Tennis is doing it. Golf is doing it. Rugby's
NASCAR
doing it.
and Prime.
Like it is.
It's a huge market.
I think also people like to say they watch sports for the sports, you know, but that's fucking bullshit. And you are lying to yourself, because I know what you watch sports for are the storylines and the narratives, because you are a human being. You are at your core drawn to stories.
We're apes.
We're apes that sat around the campfire and told stories. That is who we are at our very core. And you instinctively search for storylines. You create them in your head. It fuels entire industries. And so if you're a European fan saying, well, it's going to be just like DTS and they're going to make it into like this and that, you want that too.
Yeah.
You may say you don't, but I don't believe you. I'm calling bullshit. Americans, I think, are just a little less apologetic.
We're able to be picky. I think that is what I've been thinking a lot about recently, is especially thinking about like Americans don't want to just watch an American compete. We want to watch an American win. This is why everybody loves Coco Gauff for a lot of other reasons. But that's why everybody loves Coco Gauff, is because she's winning.
Why everyone loves every American athlete that is dominated on the world stage.
Right. Because we like winning. And part of it is a numbers game. We have so many people in this country. So yes, we have a larger percentage of people able to devote their lives to athletics in a very real way. So yeah, we have a lot of winners. I don't give a fuck.
And the wealth.
This too. And the way sport has built up as a business in its own way in regards to wealth, that is a huge part of it. What this has meant for American consumers is that we're spoiled for choice. If you get into a sport, there is a very high likelihood that there is an American competing in it and doing very well. For whatever reason, motorsport tends not to be like that. I think partly because we have our own motorsports, NASCAR and IndyCar, but also because these are, I think, very insular, up until moderately recently, European and Asian sports.
Yeah.
So
I also think, and this is like my final thoughts on this, the day you introduce Americans writ large to the lore of Nikki Hayden is the day you gain lifelong fans of this sport. Yes. Nikki Hayden, may he rest in peace, his stock is going to rise exponentially.
He's classic Americana.
He's the Kentucky kid.
Right. Kevin Schwantz, who is still alive and is still doing his goddamn thing and is like building motorsport in America. These guys are classic Americana.
You think that Americans are not going to latch onto a redneck kid from Kentucky who went to Europe and fucking kicked a bunch of Europeans' asses?
That's right up our alley. We love that shit.
We love that shit. He's about to become a folk hero in America.
I think that's what Liberty brings to this. Because I guarantee you MotoGP is not thinking about it like that. And that's fine. They are not American. They don't know the American market. That's okay. That's why Liberty is coming in. Okay, predictions. Fast and Furious.
For Assen.
Yes.
Fuck.
I'll go first. I am going to predict a Marc Marquez P1. This is going to be a really boring prediction. Alex Marquez P2. And I'm going to hold out hope for a Pecco Bagnaia P3. I think there's a chance. And if it doesn't happen this weekend, it'll never happen again. Fail King.
Okay.
Pedro Acosta.
Okay. I'm going to go for a Marc Marquez P1, Pecco P2.
So we're both hopeful.
Fabio Di Giannantonio P3.
I almost went with him as my Fail King.
And then I'm going to say Bez for Fail King.
Rough.
I know, but gotta make up ground. I think that brings us to the great wide world of motorsports, which we'll very, very briefly touch on. Our predictions for Austria and Spa.
Here's my prediction.
Austria, another banger.
Max Verstappen P1.
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri P2. Charles Leclerc P3. Fail King, George Russell.
Okay. I'm going to say Oscar P1.
Okay.
Max P2.
So we now have generational beef, I see.
Kimi P3.
Love that.
Fail King, Carlos Sainz Jr.
It's been a while. So yeah.
Let's see what happens. The only other thing I want to very, very briefly touch on is to give a big congratulations to Timothy Antonelli, who graduated high school.
He took his exams.
So exciting. Congrats, King. I hope you turned a little tassel. He got like a flower crown. It was very much giving Midsummer. It was.
Toto Wolff is going to sacrifice him.
No.
That's how that's going to go.
Yeesh. So congrats, King, on at least being one of the drivers on the grid to have a high school diploma. I'm not so certain about the rest of them.
That's rough. That's a rough one.
I think a lot of them were just kind of handed something, but you earned it.
You did that, even while
job.
being a victim of child labor.
Also, the paparazzi, like F1 reporters showed up outside of his exam to like ask him questions. And it's like,
do you not have a life?
But also like, what is he going to say? Like, oh yeah, on 16, I got
Y equals
C.
mx b squared or whatever?
Right. Like the answer was, you know,
I had a really long essay question. Like, what do you want me to say?
My hand hurts.
And way too long.
I couldn't use ChatGPT and it freaked me out.
I was going to make that joke.
Anyways, congrats, King.
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone, Toto.
We're proud of you, Timmy.
Okay, I think that brings us to the grid as ... which for the uninitiated is a point in our podcast where we categorize a handful of riders and drivers from across the great wide world of motorsport as a person, place, thing, idea, concept, and in honor of it being too hot, I suggest we do ice cream flavors.
Ooh, I love it.
Would you like to go first?
I would like to go first. Alex Marquez is mint chocolate chip.
Okay.
I think it tastes like toothpaste and is horrible.
I do too. Disgusting.
A lot of people don't think that, and that's Alex Marquez.
Yeah.
Here we go. Pecco, this is a little bit on the nose, but I do think it makes sense. Pecco is Neapolitan. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Where it's like the three colors that are supposed to be the Italian flag, but actually like have changed and shifted a lot in the course of the last like 100 years. Yeah.
They're chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. Yeah. My turn. I think that Oscar Piastri is pistachio.
Yeah. I like we both kind of went for green on the first one.
It's just giving me vibes.
Yeah.
He gives me pistachio vibes.
Right.
And then I think Fernando Alonso is rum raisin.
Because he's old.
Exactly.
Yeah. Only old people like rum raisin.
Exactly.
Nailed it.
When in doubt, make a Fernando is old joke.
Always. We're so good at this.
We're so good at this. All right. I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Next week, we will recap the events of Spa and we will recap the events of Assen. And I'm sure talk about some other stuff. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, share, comment, etc. on the episode to help us grow the podcast. We really appreciate it. And come hang out with us on Instagram,
on
TikTok,
Facebook,
YouTube, not Facebook, maybe Threads. And let's keep chatting soon.
Come hang out with us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.